Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today we are joined by Tytus Wilson. He is the COO of PackChain. They're a logistics company located here in the Louisville area, and looking forward to hearing some of his story. It's a little different, not a traditional founder type story that I'm usually or often telling. But I love anytime people get into an entrepreneurial kind of role and get to create something new and interesting that the market needs. So, Titus, why don't you first introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, thanks, John. So as you said, I am the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Technology Officer at PackChain. And our software platform we've developed is called PackChain, where we focus on helping mid-market organizations optimize their supply chain end-to-end from order entry all the way to auditing their invoices from their shipping carriers.
Okay. So you weren't doing this before. How did you come about, landing in this role? And then we'll dive into what you're doing specifically.
Yeah, I love that question. So I've spent most of my career in supply chain. Before coming here, I worked at a company called Bulletproof. They had raised a lot of money for venture capital. The founder of the company, Dave Asprey, was a podcast star, and he'd been on the Joe Rogan show. I listened to his episode randomly, and I was a chief operating officer at another startup in Louisville, and decided I want to go work for that company. They've got something interesting going on. Long story short, one of my acquaintances was working there, and I told him that if they had a role in customer service, I would love to go work in their customer service, knowing startup. And he's like, why would you want to leave your role as the chief operating officer to be a customer service agent at a small startup? And I said, I believe I can learn everything I need to know about the company, talking to the customers to grow this brand. That was some faulty logic of mine. When a company raises $127 million and you're a customer service agent, I was not able to reach the COO level of Bulletproof or get anywhere near it because of that starting entry point of customer service. But I don't regret that. That is where I learned my PhD in logistics. I did move up in Bulletproof into supply chain very quickly and learned of all of the problems that incorporate mid-market brands that are marketing heavy and how they operationally execute. So I led multiple warehouse transitions. I helped Bulletproof launch into Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Whole Foods. I can keep going. And all of the problems and systematic issues that go along with that. And Bulletproof, I was employee 7 at Bulletproof, and when I left, it was 197. And there was a day that we were launching into another brand, and it was starting to get boring. I had everything where I wanted it, and I told my family, I think it's time to leave Bulletproof. And that very night, I get on LinkedIn, and there is a job from a company called PackChain for head of analytics and supply chain. I look, and it's in New Albany, Indiana. Randomly popped up my LinkedIn, and it was like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I was hired there, and that's where I took the learnings from Bulletproof and all the problems I would see in all of these supply chains, and started building our software PackChain to mitigate those very avoidable problems that end up causing millions of dollars of waste.
Yeah, that's cool. So, so many people and young people, entrepreneurial thinking people, they immediately want to go to the top. And it's interesting, your story that you said, you know what, I'm going to start at the bottom and work up. Now, as you realize, it's hard to work from the bottom all the way to the top
Starting at the very bottom,
it's,
the literal, the very bottom. But you know what, though? I don't regret it because it taught me a lot about how people in those roles are treated. And it guides my whole entire philosophy today of when I
yeah,
go into a warehouse and where I've been in 5 warehouses this week. And when I go into those warehouses, the people that are doing what I call the work that really matters, the work that if they don't do, we don't get a paycheck, I call it.
yeah.
The reverence I treat them with and the listening to what they have to say because they give me the answers to the test of what the problems are, more so than I find with the, multi-billion dollar company and the COO oftentimes because he's not the truth is closest to the work and
Mm.
they're closest to the truth because they're doing the work. So I don't regret it at all, but because it's guided how I operate today.
That's an interesting saying there. I haven't heard that before. That they're closest to the truth.
Yeah.
That's a probably very valid, probably very true most of the time. So
I can't claim that one. I learned that from John Furner, the CEO of Walmart US, who,
okay.
when he got the job as CEO, and he started out as a cashier at Walmart.
Oh wow.
And when he got the job and he was Sam's Club CEO and had been in every position, when he got the CEO job, he went to his local store, found the manager, and said, I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks with you. Teach me everything I don't know about being a manager of a Walmart store because I can't lead you if I don't understand your role inside and out. And that's always stuck with me of
Mm,
that's the way to attack.
that's great. Great learning there. It's worth the price of admission, as we say, right?
Yes.
It's always good when you get some great nuggets. Um, so you've learned all this stuff. You come to IQ Pack. You have an entrepreneurial leader there who says we want to create some software. Um, so tell us a little bit more about the problem you're trying to solve, or
Yeah.
that you are solving, I should say, not
Yeah,
trying.
yeah, trying and doing, and there are different levels and sizes of organizations, but we have multiple entry points into our software. So we have built our software to solve whatever the point problem the company is coming to us with that inside of these different buckets. And the buckets we focus on are what's called your item master. This is the size of your products, the weights and dimensions of those products. Believe it or not, the most common dimension companies have in their systems that run their whole entire operation is 0 by 0 by 0 and 1 by 1 by 1.
Yeah.
So that leads to another problem, which we do is called cartonization. So cartonization is the logic that is used to determine the correct box that you should use in your operation or bag. So if you have 0 by 0 by 0 and the item is 27 by 14 by 12, it's going to pick a tiny box and it won't fit in it. Or worse, it picks a ginormous box and why you get the small item in a giant box. We have software to do that. So once we fix your item master with our software, now you can actually pick good boxes and bags for your operation. Well, then that leads to the next step. I've got good boxes and bags. I need to manifest, which is telling your carriers, FedEx, UPS, what the size and weight on so they can give a price. So we've
Mm-hmm.
collected that information. Now we're telling UPS and FedEx. So then that solves the next problem, which one is cheaper? So then we do a rate shop for those to say, hey, you should ship UPS on this order and you should ship FedEx on this. So
Mm-hmm.
then lastly, that goes into, okay, we've done all of that. We want to audit UPS and FedEx to make sure they're charging me what they quoted, which big surprise, they do not for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars every day. But companies don't have this mechanized information through their supply chain. Remember, they're 0 by 0 by 0
Right.
system. So whatever FedEx says, they just have to pay unless they're putting a system like in that we've built.
Wow. Fascinating, and I guess I've seen big boxes arrive with tiny items in them and wondered why. So
That
now
is the reason.
now we know why.
That is the reason.
So tell us about that journey. How did you break that down into how you? I love how you kind of laid it out in the four levels. You don't just conquer all that in a week. So what was that process like?
Yeah, I love that question. So you're exactly right. That was 5 years of learning of, these are the steps, these are the processes of it. And when I started here, I was set, like I said, the item master was what I started out to solve the problem of. That
Mm,
this is the product because we can't do anything else we want to do unless this is fixed. So I built the system to be world class at solving that specific problem. So then we go out and we do sales and marketing and we're creating content on that. And guess what? Big surprise, nobody wants to buy that service because they don't understand the problem. So they're not going to
right.
buy that. Well, what I find out is they always want to skip that step and go into cartonization and
Sure.
and just automate, skip. We don't want to do the hard. We always say people will do 1,000 easy things that don't work, but not the one hard thing that works.
Mm,
So the cartonization side came next because I built a program that will tell you the perfect box sizes and bags you need in your operation. All they've got to give me is their current sizes of product, what orders they're shipping, and their current packaging. Well, I use that to say, hey, I can't tell you good results in your cartonization because you've got bad dimensions, and here's why. So I built the cartonization to be a lead magnet to go into fixing the item masters,
mm,
and everybody started to love this cartonization program that we
yeah.
had. And then we picked up a customer that was in Minnesota that wanted me to solve a throughput problem through their operation. They could not get out 500 orders a day that was over $60,000 a day in revenue. They were behind because they were manually entering every shipment. Everything was manual, manual, manual. So at that point, I built a system to manifest their information. I thought, well, if I'm manifesting it, I might as well shop it between UPS and FedEx, which then added that feature. And then customers started asking, well, can you audit this for us? You're collecting all this information. So that fell into place
Yeah.
with it. So that was the journey we went down of I still believe, or I know that item master is the number one thing. I haven't solved the problem where people want to pay for it yet. But if I
Yeah.
get in with doing their manifesting or doing audit, then I can land in the operation and expand to show them that, provide value, ROI quickly, and then they just trust us to fix those problems for us or help them do it. And our software includes that as a core feature when you buy it. Of like, hey, you're not
Yeah.
using our item master today, but services, but hey, it's in your software.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's so true. We talk about it all the time. You have to have a product that people need and are willing to pay for.
Yes.
So you've got they need it, but they're not willing to pay for it. The reason they're willing to pay for it is they don't see the value. But suddenly you bring along something that has value, and now that need rises. So it's actually that's so common in startups. People having to find what that right product is that people will actually pull out their pocketbook and spend money on.
I'm a firm believer in minimal viable product, but the actual Eric Rice, his book about that,
Yeah.
what is the smallest thing I can do? How can I almost fake the feature to see if there's interest before
Yeah.
even building it and so we're either building off of that premise, or if a customer wants us to do something that they're willing to pay for, that then we can reuse other places for
Yeah.
products. That happens to us. That's where rate shopping came from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, yeah, that it's awesome when you can get a customer to essentially fund your R&D. And
Yes,
yeah, I've
yes.
I've had that happen before, and it's that's the best way.
It's my
Uh,
favorite.
and because now you can use that and spin that up. So tell me about some of the challenges you face. I mean, obviously you just described one, but how about on the team side? You've built a team of obviously some smart technical people. What's that been like?
Yeah, that would probably be the biggest hurdle to get over. I go into billion, I wouldn't say that big. Well, yeah, actually I do. I go into billion-dollar organizations or companies providing similar services. A lot of companies provide similar services to what we're doing, but not the whole package of those. And I see
Mm,
their technology stacks and I see how they're going about it, and we're further along with them with a much smaller team and spent 1/100th of the budget.
Mm.
And I focus so much on one of the things I'm most proud about here is my head of engineering has been with me on this project for 5 years. We've never changed tech stacks. We just keep building and building and building. And our
Mm.
foundation is so strong that we haven't had to throw it away, start over, which is so common. And so getting that hire right is what has made us have the success we're having today. And then
Right.
being mindful of just because you need to add more engineering talent, that's not always a plus because, okay, now my head of engineering has to spend 3 months onboarding someone new, and it is extremely difficult to get those hires right as you do. So we are laser focused on being as small as team as we can until we run
Mm.
out of hours in the day, until we just cannot do any more work on the core product, and keeping my head of engineering focused on architecture and the core product and not going off into random features that we don't have much need for long term. So bringing in engineering talent first and foremost has been the biggest challenge. We've crossed that hurdle. Now we're getting to the hurdle of bringing on more resources and getting those hires right. We're not venture capital backed, we're not private equity backed, so we've had to grow the business as we've went along with this software. So it's forced us to be extremely um, frugal with our resources, with our development, with our cost overall. But those being that way for the last 5 years has really helped, like I said, build that foundation um,
Hmm.
for that. I have to get on our engineering all the time of, spending 3 hours because the backup server is only compressing at an 80% clip that they expected, and it's only $4 to raise the backup server. Okay, we don't need you to spend a week fixing it or improving upon that. We'll pay the $4. So now it's the shifting the mindset of, hey, we can spend the money now, but we always want to keep that culture in the business of how would you spend the money if it was your money?
Yeah.
If you were responsible for this, which we want to keep that in anything we do, but definitely having engineering resources and execution. All of the jobs we do require at some level currently my on-site meetings, execution. Replicating what I've got in my head to other people is definitely our biggest scale risk.
Mm. So how do you stay current with technology and what the market is asking for? Sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of that. So what's
Yeah,
the what's your secret?
My secret is not to get allured by new, fancy, I didn't say fancy, new, sexy technology
Mm.
so in engineering, there's lots of frameworks that people use to code. And
Yeah.
we've watched these frameworks come and go for years and years. And one
Yeah.
guy is completely specialized in this framework, and the next month that framework's not even on the top 10 list. And what can
Yeah.
he do? So we have focused on building, and my engineering will hate this, but I call it this standards and norms. So we
Mm.
focus on technology that's been infrastructure that has been around for 20 plus years that's not going anywhere, and then we improve upon deficiencies in that. We just recently started supporting Postgres into our databases because we know Postgres has been around long enough. It is,
Mm.
it is starting to it is starting to surpass SQL, so now we can support both. So we don't jump into the newest things unless it's things like AI. So
Yeah, that was actually where I was going to go
yeah,
next.
yeah. So if it is just undoubtedly going to change the way the world works, we don't go conservative there. If
Yeah.
it's debatable and we don't see any key advantages, we take our time and we're patient with what we build. So we integrated with OpenAI's API the day it released because we were using it so much, and it allowed my engineering not to have to do common task, right?
Mm.
We keep a log and a track of how much AI is improving our output in engineering. And
Mm.
just this week, we crossed the 50% barrier. So
Wow.
we started at zero, and each week we just tally. It's not scientific. It's just our little log of what we see, but
Hmm.
watching that scale. And the biggest thing it's helped us with is minor tasks for engineering are now able to be completed by our workforce, who then don't have to send a ticket to engineering. So while they're
Hmm.
50% more efficient, our internal staff is even higher than that because they can self-serve their own queries, their own JavaScript functions. There's so many things that our layman can do that don't have to send tickets to engineering, so they can focus on architecture.
Mm-hmm. So, so what does that look like just in an everyday situation?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier we do transportation audits.
Mhm.
So transportation audit can be, I've got a customer right now that has 75,000 rows in a database per invoice. So our system brings that data into our tables that are exposed to the user, and that database has 2.8 million rows in it right now, which, as everybody would know, try to open that in Excel and run a pivot table. It's not
Yeah,
going to work. So
right.
we give the users the ability to go in and say, show in English, show me all the shipments from Ferdinand, Indiana, and in 2 seconds, it writes the SQL query, gives the report that they can save. And then every time we get new data coming in, it updates that report. That's something 3 years or 2 years ago that would have to send an engineering ticket of, hey, we need you to make a view for this and
Yeah,
show. Now our users can do it. We've built our tables allow us to do custom styling. So like you have um, think of a boring Excel table with no style to it, and you want to have an up and down arrow. We have formulas that you just click a button and the AI writes the JavaScript into it and puts it on the screen for the user. That's things we would have had 6 weeks of meetings and Figma
oh
designers
yeah,
and all of that. So now we're getting into what we're calling UI for every user. Like, hey, John likes to see his UI this way, so John sets it up how he wants it. Titus likes this way, he sets it up how he wants it. We think the future is going to bring a lot more customization to your software that you're working with.
wow.
Build it how you need to see it. An exec.
As an old retired software developer, that just freaks me out to think about that.
Well, and like as an executive wants to look at data a lot different than a analyst,
Yeah,
but they're all singing on the same sheet of music, right? They're all looking at the same data at the core. There's a lot of problems with your Tableaus and your Power BIs and the data that
mm,
feeds it and all of that.
yeah. That's fascinating. So, somebody somebody using AI beyond uh, content creation and stuff like that. You're actually day one dove in there uh, and are using it in a real practical way. Not that content creation and other things aren't a practical way, but that's really cool to hear what you're doing. Uh, what's next on the horizon for you? What's your crystal ball tell you?
Crystal ball tells us, I've been in startups and my whole career and in venture capital side, and you always hear the proverbial hockey stick growth.
Yeah.
And it's almost so that it's a cliche, and I hear it and I think that company's not going to do much. But that is my crystal ball for us, that we have not put any resources into marketing, AdWords and sales like that, besides growing internally from our connections and people we've met along the way, and different, more like traditional sales. And my crystal ball is telling me that I know this, all right, we're moving into more traditional inbound marketing and really pouring resources to that. My biggest thing right now is I need more people in the software for stress testing, right?
Hmm.
We've got one customer where we've ran 500,000 packages through this system and can't even get it to hiccup. So like, I'm not saying there won't be a point we hiccup, but I need the
You kind of want to know what that that point is, right?
I'm looking forward to that point.
Yeah.
Let's really stress it. So the crystal ball is us to put a large amount of resources into sales and marketing. So that is our main focus for the end of this year and going into next year. We also have a passion of, internal goal of a $10 million company with 10 people. Like how do we keep the company at a very small scale by using these tools that we've developed to continue to grow this without saying, well, we want to be 100 people. That's not the goal. And I think that's changing a lot, where it's not as we got 150 people in our company but our revenue's this, and we got 10 people and our revenue's more per person.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. And that's another thing. AI is really allowing companies to scale it blows out that 10 per million kind of ratio that you typically hear people look at. So that's cool too. So what's your target customer look like? We'll just get that out there in case someone happens to be listening that is a perfect fit.
Yeah, our target customer is 1 million in revenue to $1 billion, and that's the technical definition of mid-market, where that's where we like to play in. Not to say we have several customers over that, but those are the more challenging accounts to work in, with the red tape and the meetings and the 3-year sales cycle. And so we're trying to target companies that are shipping 100 packages a day to 5,000 packages a day, that know they have a problem with either getting items out the door, or transportation rates, too big of boxes. There's all these different areas, but we want to work in the mid-market. I come from that. Those are my people that I really sell best to and connect with. Companies that we can come in and then leave in 3 days and the ROI is there immediately. Yeah. That's what we're really targeting right now.
Yeah. And that's a rare product that can do that. So congratulations on what you've done. Well, thanks for coming on the program. Appreciate you sharing your story and I'm as an old software development guy, I'm always blown away when I talk to people that are doing these things today. I grew up in a different era, but it's still very cool to me. If someone wants to learn more or just pick your brain, or who knows, maybe be that perfect next addition to your team, how's the best way to find you?
Best way is on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can find me, Tytus Wilson, Tytus.
Yeah, you're an unusual Titus. You're not a normal Titus.
I tell my parents they spelled my name wrong for years, but if you find me on LinkedIn there, connect with me, send me a message. If anybody's listening that's younger, that is interested in this side of it, that we're always looking for mentorship opportunities. People, we're bringing on 2 interns right now, so always feel free to reach out. If there's anything there, I just helped somebody last week that didn't have the power in the organization to hire us, wanted our product, and I gave them a roadmap to do it manually inside their company if they had to, just because I liked what the guy was talking about and what he wanted to do. So if that's you, I've been in your shoes and love to talk to people in those situations. I know that you can't always hire. You don't have the horsepower in the company to get that through to hire us, but if I can help in your journey along there, I'm more than happy to.
Very good. Thanks again, Titus. Appreciate it. Love your story and impressed with what you all do.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.